Good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order at this time. Please turn all cell phones, electronic devices to off or vibrate. I'm going to pick on Mr. Phillip Arp to lead us in our prayer and pledge this evening.
Father God, thank you so much for this day. I pray that you will be with us today. Help us to have open minds and open hearts and to discuss the matters that are before the city today in the manner in which you told us to, with love for you and with love for each other. Please guide us, give us strength and wisdom. I pray this in Jesus Christ's name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Arp. All right, tonight's meeting is basically about the proposed budget. We're not going to open the budget yet, but I am going to say these few words going forward. We are not going to have any more meetings like we did last Tuesday. Unacceptable, unprofessional, immature. Okay? So we are going to be respectful of those that are speaking. Will be called upon one at a time. Those that are speaking will be given the floor. Those that want to ask can wait. Do not interrupt. If you become unorderly, unprofessional, or immature, I will ask you to leave. If you do not leave, police officer will escort you out. All right, let's get started. City Council may consider, discuss, and authorize a public hearing on the proposed 2019-2020 proposed budget. Motion to open the budget, please.
Make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Good afternoon. We've been working diligently on the budget for quite some time. Basically what we did, we took the tax rate at the highest tax rate we can go to the rollback and started working the budget out. We got a lot of comments on the tax rate, and nobody wants to go up on their taxes, especially after a value change. So what we've done is come back and instead of adjusting the rate upwards, we're going to leave it the same as we did last year. And we pushed the budget down. We went back in and trimmed up where we could on the budget. And at the lower tax rate.
Tax rate we remain 453.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
This is going up 3-2.
Yeah, we're not
That's a
going
good
up.
thing.
Yes, no. I mean, nobody wants to raise taxes.
Well,
And-
talk to the other entities.
Yeah, but, so we're gonna remain at the same tax rate. We're not going up on the tax rate for this coming year. We've adjusted our budget, to, reflect, thank you. And we've adjusted the budget to reflect the same tax rate as we had this year. So, I don't know if we need to go through it or if there's anything, I mean, the things that are gonna be affected, we've talked a lot about the K-9 for the police department. It was on the table for a long time to get a K-9 for the police department. We've taken that out of the budget. What else was there? A lot of it hit the police department pretty hard. We'd looked at getting an additional vehicle for the police department. One of their vehicles is 9 years old. But we took that out because we put in for a grant to get a new vehicle for the police department this year. And hopefully we'll go back to them soon and get a new vehicle on the grant. That way we're not having to bring it out of the budget.
You still gonna have to bring up $30,000 for that grant. Because I want to cover half the vehicle.
Okay. All right.
But the grant's we only was awarded $30,000. It's still pending, but that's half the value of a patrol vehicle.
Okay. Well, we'll look into that as we go. Let's see what else. We had a cage for the animal control vehicle, and we took that out of the budget. However, we're going to try and approach that a different way. We'll look for other grants and some of our a raffle, something like that, so we can come up with some of this money that we're taking out of the budget.
But Tommy, let's note that box was $15,000.
Yeah, we took that out, the
I know,
$15,000
that's
out.
for the public, let's make that note.
Yeah, it was the back of the animal
Animal
control.
control.
I needed a whole new, they need a whole new.
And it may actually be less, that was our budget figures.
Right, I understand.
Right, so, and we went through and, we hit all the departments, except for street and the fire department. The fire department went up because we needed to get some, personal protective equipment for some of the firefighters. There's a lot of, equipment that we have expiring on their date. So, that their budget actually went up. It rarely goes up, but it went up this time just for that, and for the street department. So everything else pretty much came down.
Why did the street department go up?
We have some equipment that we anticipate on having to work on. We're not buying anything new, but we are trying to throw that in our street maintenance budget. And so, let's see, what else? That was basically from last year's budget. Well, it went down from last year's budget. So, like I say, everything dropped in each department other than those two. We do have some in water that went up, but it was some personnel that we're going to have to add. And so other than that, we're less than we were last year at the same tax rate. If we go through the changes we made from last year, let's see. Our first is police department that we're going through. Everything is basically the same, other than, like I said, previously we had added for a patrol car. We went up on that budget from 15,000 to 55. We reversed that. The K9 had gone up 4,000. We reversed that out. We actually went down a few thousand in the hospital insurance. Overall, the police department went down $5,623. Municipal court's going to stay the same at $32,874.50. City Hall and other buildings are at $56,200. Last year it was $72,712. So we went down significantly there. Non-departmental, which includes a lot of the services that City Hall does internally, postage.
That also includes your salary.
It does, yes.
Can I make note of that?
Yes, sir.
My support of you remains unwavering. I want you to know that.
Yes, sir.
Nowhere in this budget workshop time have you asked for a raise.
No, sir.
You're not asking for one now.
No, sir.
You started at 70,000, you've been here years. You're still on 70,000.
Yes, sir.
Ryan Grimes started at 82, went up to 92. Your wife doesn't have health insurance.
No, she does not.
Your son had pneumonia last winter.
Yes.
They had to treat him at home, couldn't afford to put him in the hospital, no health insurance.
Right.
I just want you to know, I appreciate you coming.
Thank you, Bob.
And that's an indication to me that you're one frugal man. And I appreciate the way you handle budget.
Well, I mean, we've really been pushing for health insurance, better health insurance this year. We went out for bid, and now that you mentioned health insurance for citywide employees, and we have a better plan. Well, we went back to TML, our insurance carrier, and we got 4 different plans where used to we just had one plan that fit all. And now, depending on the plan, people want to take, you know, whether they can afford it or not for their family. You have an HMO, or it's actually 2 PPOs and then
There's a high deductible plan, wasn't there?
yeah.
CHPO.
Yeah. Exactly. Something to you put cash back and you go. Yeah. And anyway, so these are available to the employees if they want. And they are at a reduced rate than what they were paying. So we're trying hard to accommodate these, you know, the employees with their health insurance.
But
Because
when people bring up things like kettle corn and phone booths, that's a boat thing out at the lake, I just want you to know, and I want the public to know that you're staying on $70,000 on yourself.
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Let's see. Oh, non-departmental, for City Hall, we were at 39,000, pardon me, 392,000. We've gone down to 348,000. So we got a big slice out of the pie there. Streetlights are gonna stay the same at 45,000. Fire department, as I mentioned earlier, it's actually going up about $9,000, strictly for the personal protective equipment for some of the firefighters. Some of their equipment is expiring, you know, they're kind of reached its end of use date, so you don't want a bunch of firefighters out there not being protected, so we did throw in for that. The Lake Park budget was $29,490. We cut it down to $14,300. So another substantial cut there. Animal control, we didn't cut too much. Last year we budgeted $100,731. We cut back to $83,360. Street department. Last year we were at $1,264,108. We have gone up to $1,301,000. So it went up a little bit.
So why is that?
Do what?
Why is that?
Well, we're hoping to do more street maintenance. So hopefully we'll bulk it up with materials.
What are you selling off all your equipment?
No, not yet. Not yet. City Park. We were at $133,000, or $133,867,000, and we dropped that to $72,623. Swimming pool, we were at $102,700, and that's gone down to $99,624. Community center, we were at $49,763 last year. This year we're budgeting $31,550. Administrative. We did go up there a little bit. Last year, we were 179,961. This year, we're at 181,811. And I think that may be due to some insurance adjustment that we did on the back end there. So it may have gone up, but not by much. So that would be the total of the general fund. And water, budgeted revenues last year were $2,240,035. This year we're projecting them a little bit lower at $2,092,821.
Wait, I got lost. Hold on. We're at water department.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I was running behind. Okay.
Okay. We have what we call non-operating water. This is bond payments, interest on debt. We've budgeted those. Last year was $641,975. This year's budget is $590,130. Our water plant. Water plant last year, $931,556. This year, $826,302. So we've gone down on our water plant. And a lot of that's going to be chemicals. We've had some personnel changes recently. I've got, let's see, insurance, what else, something substantial. A lot of it's just trimming, you know, 2,000 or 3,000 here, 2,000 or 3,000 there. So, water distribution. Last year we ran, our budget was $396,131. This year, $375,331. And again, some of this is going to be overtime, purchase of tools, equipment, water mains. I mean, we had some things budgeted that we didn't seem to use last year, so we're going to use it, or not use it this year, or not put it in the budget this year. Water administration went up. Last year we were 136. This year we're at 180,000. So
We're gonna 50,000 there.
right. Some of it's going to be, we added an individual to that position. And so that's going to be a person plus taxes, insurance, pension, all this stuff. And then we got sewer. Last year, $134,028. This year, $120,284. So we went down again there. Then we have the airport. Last year, let's see, income, our revenue was, they budgeted $60,750. This year we'll figure $55,850. And
Can we get some kind of payment here close to the end of the year on that?
we get another lease payment towards the end of the year.
So that 38 will come up.
Yes.
a lot.
And that pretty much sums up the budget for this year.
back up just a minute to general fund. We had asked Chief Stan, what is the maintenance cost on the vehicle? Your patrol costs, especially particularly that 9-year-old.
And that 9-year-old, I spent over $10,000 keeping that thing running this year.
And what do we find out about the,
Well, I mean, I would like to go over the budget one more time, if you want to. But that's,
the lease information that was,
yeah, now,
That's, what we can have, again,
on the oldest patrol car, we spent over $10,000. And I just spent another $300 on it this weekend, trying to keep it running. And that's a lot of duct tape, I'll tell you what. So, we need a new vehicle. Okay? Now, the $50,000 that I requested to put in the budget was not just for one vehicle, it was for 3 vehicles. And that was a lease purchase program that I got prices on, and that was for a 5-year lease, I do believe. Now, this enterprise deal came alive, and it's looking real good. We can put city vehicles on a lease and police vehicles on a lease. We'll be leasing out 13 to 14 vehicles, and for the entire year, I think it's gonna cost us $120,000.
I didn't remember exactly what the number was, but it didn't say.
Yeah, it was good.
Well, if you break it down, it works to about $400 a month per vehicle.
Yeah,
Saved about $26,000 a year.
not to mention that,
On total vehicle costs across all budget lines, is what you're saying?
That's all the
and that includes all maintenance.
we have.
That lease program does all maintenance also.
what's
So,
the initial investment on that? I mean, do we have to put a chunk up?
I think I didn't bring the piece of paper up, but I think for just the city, and I just had the prices on just the city vehicles. The first year would be like 54,000, I do believe, for the first year. And as we rotate more vehicles into it, the end up total cost would be like 93,000 a year.
That's just for city vehicles.
That's just for city vehicles. And that's rotating 16 vehicles through that lease program.
So at signing, we would have to come up with 50 or 90?
I would say rough ballpark. Because the patrol units have all different equipment, and they come equipped. He's still getting prices on that, he hasn't returned back to me on it. So, the average police vehicle is around $60,000. With Enterprise, I'm pretty sure it might be a little bit cheaper, because they get a discount on vehicles. So, I'm still looking in the $50,000 to $60,000 range. And looking at it, I think we're probably only gonna start off with maybe $20,000 to $30,000 on that end of it.
When if you average it out, you get city vehicles plus police vehicles. I think we figured, was it 18 city vehicles, which is all that we have, plus 4 police vehicles. You drive your average down to $500 a month per vehicle. Now, that's a big yearly payment, but you know, if you're breaking it down apples to apples, you know.
Okay, so you don't pay it monthly.
No, you don't have
Your
to.
payment is not monthly. You
Right.
can pay the 50 or 90 up front, is that what you're saying?
Essentially.
And that basically pays your
Yes.
payments for the year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and then see, they do all the maintenance, they have no maintenance, they do all the repairs, with the exception of,
Body.
body wrecks.
Whereas now we're paying,
Whereas now we're
what?
paying all of that.
And how much is that?
Well, right now, we're budgeted for gas, oil, and flats, we're budgeted for 17.5, and for vehicle repairs, we are budgeted
So
15,000.
about 30,000.
Well, gas on flats, you're still gonna pay.
But you're
for it.
still gonna have
No,
gas.
not the oil.
Okay.
No oil?
No, flats and gas, we're probably still gonna have to eat, but that's still, I mean, we're doing one oil change a month,
Right.
each vehicle,
So,
so that will
15.
bring your cost down.
If I recall right, it was something like $200,000 over
The city would be saving at least over the lease program, I think over $250,000.
$250,000 over.
Yeah.
How long are you talking?
Maybe 5 years,
That was
That's
48,
5 years.
4 or 5.
4 or 5.
5 years, I think it was.
So, and then every 4 years, we turn in that vehicle, we get the revenue, whatever it goes back to our payment, and we get a new vehicle to replace it.
Right.
We don't have to worry about selling, unless you want to keep it or whatever, that's up to y'all, but, with our patrol vehicles, within 4 years, we're ready to replace it,
Right.
so.
And this doesn't mean you take all 18 and get new, 18.
It's spread out, like,
You can phase it in 2, 3, 4 at a time,
yeah.
whatever
So,
you can.
I mean, for the patrol vehicles, he recommended doing 4 of them because of the mileage and the years. So I have 4 vehicles that are essentially over the age of being traded in for any value. And so, we probably will take a slight chunk on that because they're not worth, the 2010 Dodge Charger is probably not worth $5,000. And I'm putting $10,000 in a year on it. So, and not to mention that it still needs, the automatic locks don't work. That's $1,000. I haven't repaired it because I can still use the key for it. The siren doesn't work. So lights work, but the siren doesn't. I'm waiting on a speaker for that. So, and that's $150, $200 for a speaker.
Well, there was a safety aspect of that too, because a lot of vehicles we have now are not up to, some of them don't have the anti-lock brakes.
Right.
And, what was it, something else?
Airbag system.
Airbag systems.
They our vehicles predate a
Protection
lot of
of
that
our
stuff.
officers.
Yes.
There's a question behind Mr. Arp.
I was just gonna say Mueller, we do a lot of vehicles through Enterprise and it's been a good deal for us.
It looked like a really good deal when we were looking at it.
It seems like a win-win. I mean, I didn't know if there was something that was missing to it, but if y'all have experience.
Is there any additional insurance that you have to have for that in case you have a wreck?
No.
Or is they swap you out one?
Coleman actually has Enterprise, and they keep their same TML insurance, and it's just, if we have a wreck or something, our insurance will pay for the damages or whatever force might be, either be pursuit or whatever, and that's, the suspect technically has to pay for it or whatever, but, that's why our insurance falls under, they'll repair it, and, we just tell Enterprise that, hey, we had a wreck, this is the price on it, this is what it is.
So this is the same organization, you just tell them what you want, and you tell them, hey, I want road guards on all my vehicles, I want road guards on all my stuff. This is the emblems we want on our vehicles, and they have it tagged and ready for you to go.
Yes. I mean, the guy at
It includes all
Enterprise,
your accessories.
the guy at Enterprise, he's like, because we always dealt with Defender Supply on getting our vehicles outfitted. And so, he made contact with him and said, yeah, this is the last quote we got. So we had all the equipment we need, and so he can add that into the price. And he just tells the vendor, okay, let's go. And that, I mean,
It includes all your accessories.
yes.
Mine doesn't.
Even with the street vehicles, if we want amber lap bars on them, grill guards,
Ladder racks.
decks, like a mechanic truck was one of them. Get a new mechanic deck, stuff like that. So we just tell them what we want on it, and it's a good done deal. It's all rolled up into the price.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any potential penalties, like for high mileage, that sort of
No.
thing?
There's not. The way he explained it, if there was one that's, because we have to go through a authorized mechanic shop. Passke's one of them, Ballinger Autotech's one of them, GM's one of them also. So when they report that, they'll send in the mileage and everything. So when Enterprise says, hey, this mileage is getting close, let's go ahead and trade this one in first, type thing. Even though it was the last one we bought, if the mileage gets up there, they're like, hey, we want this one back, type thing. But and technically, I do believe there was no mileage limit on the lease. So even though if we go over what they recommend, we don't get penalized for it.
What kind of turnaround are you looking at? Does it take them a week or so? Or without that automobile goes looking from you and
Depending on the time of year, which come budget year, Defender Supply is 6 months out. So the sooner we can get this stuff done and approved, the faster. The average turnaround to get a police car outfitted to our standings would be 2 to 3 months.
Or we wouldn't be without it.
We wouldn't be without it. I mean, as soon as we get this one in, because we still have to swap equipment, radios, cameras, et cetera, you know, as soon as we get all
you
that.
still have your
Yes.
old, okay.
And you know, like our older ones, we have the option to either keep them or get them traded in. You know, they recommended 4 vehicles, which is the Dodge, the Ford, and 2 Tahoes. I got 2 Tahoes that are reaching 100,000 miles or plus. And, you know, like I was telling Tommy, you know, we can sell off the Dodge and the Ford. We can keep the 2 Tahoes because, I mean, technically they are, so I can use those as backups or for my reserve officers. And when it's time, we can throw them in the mix.
But you won't be without.
No, no, we won't be with that.
That's what matters.
Yes.
Stan, what kind of vehicles are you looking at getting from Enterprise?
We kind of agree upon keeping with GM,
Okay.
so I'm just.
Well, my concern was I didn't want you guys driving the Fords with the exhaust problems that
No,
are still
no.
mildly lingering. I don't want to kill you guys while you're driving around.
And the reason why we're going with GM is because we have a local dealership that will, I mean, we take them right there.
Right.
Normally, Tolliver is real good, first responder units, they get them in and out. So
That was my only concern, is because I do know the background on the Ford Explorers that, well, San Antonio has 300 parked that they can't do anything with.
Right.
Abilene, they killed one of their guys with one.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at all.
Cool.
Yes, sir.
What does our current financial status and credit rating, how does it affect the cost of this when we're talking leases? Because for us individual people, we have to have good credit to get it, so how does that work with the city?
I have no idea, we haven't got that far yet.
Seeing how it's a city, I don't think it will affect us, but I believe it's supposed to be here Monday.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to go a little more in depth in this program and see what we can do, what we can't do, you know, how far we want to step off into it. You know, so that's,
Yeah, I mean,
we'll know a lot more on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, they recommended 4 patrol units to be turned in. You know, we can do 2, we can do 1, we can do whatever we can financially do. So, or whatever we agree upon.
Yes, sir.
What is the date that the budget has to be finalized by?
20 January,
September.
pardon,
Yeah.
20 September.
Back
Yeah,
to the future.
yeah, thinking that far ahead.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
So that's what I was looking, so if we finalize it on Friday, still working this out, we budget them in later if we decide to go with it, or?
Right. On this particular deal, if, say we hammer out a deal that everybody wants to go with, then we would do a budget amendment for this.
I would recommend keeping the 50,000 in there because either way we go, I'm still need a vehicle.
The way we go, you're spending that 15 grand almost a year anyway on that one car, right?
Yeah. And that does not include the rest of the maintenance on any of the other vehicles. Because I've got one going into the shop for alignment, you know, I'm pretty sure I'm already over budget on that line item now. I haven't got a quote on that alignment yet.
How many total vehicles does the police department have, and what are the ages?
Currently we have 7, the oldest one is a 2010. We have 2012. Hold on, got the list. We have 7 vehicles. We have a 2010 Dodge, a 2012 Ford, 3 2014 Chevy Tahoes, a 2015 Dodge, a 2016 Chevy. This is what we have.
How many officers do we have?
Currently, we have 7. We're budgeted for 8. Currently, we're short one-handed. Technically, I'll be short 1 vehicle.
Are they full-time or part-time?
Full-time,
All full-time.
yes. That's, all the officers are including myself as well.
Can I ask, where do you all control that? Because I never see you guys. I was sleeping. Are you sleeping? Yeah. No, I'm not sleeping. I'm awake all the time. I watch everything.
So, my recommendation is to keep the 50,000 in there, because either way, we're needing a vehicle for 2020.
50?
50.
Why am I on here to tune?
Because,
We backed it out.
we took it out.
Oh,
At the last budget meeting, we had included 50,
right.
and so I'll need
If we're gonna
to,
put 50 back in there to get 1 vehicle,
The
we're gonna do their enterprise and get 3 for the same price.
well, I mean, that 50,000 was 3, at least purchase program to a different vendor,
Right, okay.
so.
What you say to all the maintenance?
They do.
We don't
Yeah.
So either way, we probably look at keeping the money in there, whichever way we go.
Okay, hold on. Yes, sir.
What would be the projected savings throughout the city of Ballinger if you rotate all 18 vehicles out? Not just the police officer vehicles, but all the maintenance vehicles throughout the year. If you're spending, X amount of dollars per year in maintenance, what would be the projected cost savings of that through the whole city?
I think they projected $250,000 over the course of 5 years.
That's not just his vehicles, that's the whole city.
No, well, they didn't have the numbers for the patrol units because it was gonna get the parts list and everything for all the
Right.
different, equipment they had. So he didn't give us a projection on police department. That's just over the city vehicles if we do the city.
So
It's as high as $300,000.
But
It could be as high as $300,000.
could be, yes.
So it changed.
Where is the maintenance done for enterprise? Where would you have to take the vehicles?
GM, Tolliver Brothers, Paskins, Ballinger Auto Tech, and if there's any other local vendor that we want to put on there, all they have to do is fill out a piece of paper and send it in, like Yellow Vans. If he wants to do it, then all I have to do is scan him a piece of paper, he fills it out, send it back to Enterprise, and so everything will flow through them.
Stay slow.
Yes.
What formula do you use to figure out how many patrol officers are needed for this size of a community?
Normally, and I did it a long time ago, FBI has a deal. I think you have to have 2.2 officers for every 1,000 people. Which right now we're, I think, too short for the population we have.
How many officers are actively on duty at a given time at the most? Like, I know at night it's fewer, but, or sometimes or whatever. So it's only 2 on duty at a given time? And then yourself as well sometimes? So you're one of those 2?
I'll be one of those 2.
And when you're talking police vehicles, this is separate from animal control vehicles, or is that included in some of these numbers?
Animal control falls under the police department, but they have their own separate budget.
Okay. I'm just trying to clarify and understand.
Because with Enterprise, they have emergency vehicles and non-emergency vehicles. Hers will be classified as a non-emergency vehicle.
So that brings me to my question of why do we need so many vehicles for the police department anyway? We're worried about this one that's breaking down. If we only have 2 officers on duty at any given time, why do we need the large number of vehicles?
Well, it's pretty simple. I mean, you only have 2 officers for 3,000 people. In the worst case scenario, you only have 1 officer on duty. If something happens, say there's a wreck, worst case scenario, there's an active shooter. You know, how am I gonna get to that spot without an emergency vehicle?
Well, I'm just saying, if we're down one vehicle for repairs at this point, because it's costing a lot to repair, just because we're in such financial straits, would it make sense to postpone this for a year and possibly be down a vehicle, just one vehicle, if we're not using them actively that much?
I mean, they're used 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Not at the same time.
Well, I mean, I still have activity. I mean, I have, you know, even though I have 2 officers on duty, they're taking calls. You know, I could call Suzanne up and say, hey, I need you to go sit at this house. And she'll get in her vehicle and she'll go sit at the house. Or if we have something blow up and we need traffic control or anything like that.
So how often are all 7 vehicles used at the same time?
Well,
It's only a need when it's a need.
What'd you say, Robert?
It's only a need when it's a need.
Better to have it, not need it, need it, not have it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean,
Well, I
it's the
understand that,
same-
I'm just saying,
it's
in
the same
terms
reason
of the
why-
budget and where we're at right
It's
now.
the same
that's
reason
why I'm
why the
asking.
fire department has 7 different vehicles also. You know, I mean, because you never know when something might happen. You gotta have it. Yes, ma'am.
Well, they use it for personal transportation to and from work.
The policy of our state that the vehicles can be used for personal use because of our small community. Anytime, and I always recommend it, I'm always locked and loaded. I have a gun on me no matter where I go. So if I'm in the patrol unit, I have a gun and badge. If I hear something on the radio, I can respond to it. Or if you're out and about and something happens, you can be there to respond to it. And I mean, it's been like that ever since I got here, before I got here.
None of us necessarily make it good just because it was that way before you got here.
Right, no, and I mean, it's nice to see, you know, granted, there's people that, you know, I go to the grocery store, buy bread and milk before I head to the house, you know, and so I don't know what you want to consider personal use or not.
Anybody that has any doubts about needing good transportation that needs to get a scanner, how many times do you get called out or one of your officers for backup? Maybe you're not needed, but you might be too.
Some of those calls, we would just let you know, it doesn't always ring on radio. If it's a very sensitive call, it will come through our cell phones. If it's a juvenile, an infant death, something of that nature, we will not broadcast that over the radio. You will not hear it.
So you may have a scanner and you may not hear all the activity because some of it is not.
Right, but that officer is, he is available.
Right.
Right, but the dispatch will contact us via cell, so that we can act very quickly.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I know this is kind of related to the police department, but I'm having trouble understanding the big picture because you talked about the budget and how you cut it down. And you talked about compared to last year's budget, but nowhere have I really heard actuals mentioned. So how did you figure out how to cut? Did you do a certain percentage or did you look at actual numbers? I personally am not liking hearing that the police department was cut first, I'm gonna be honest. I'm out walking at like 5:30 in the morning. We used to see other people walking. Now we see people who can't find their house because they're high or drunk. So
Right.
personally, that would be my last thing to cut right now. And it doesn't bother me that they have 7 vehicles. I've seen them all in fairly like one place. And like you said, Robert, when you need it, you need it.
Right.
So, but I'd like to know how you made these cuts because they're just numbers on paper unless you had some kind of reason.
Well, what I did, I took actual, what we had as of that day, and did kind of an average. I checked with Ballinger to see if there was anything, you know, pending or coming up that I didn't know about. And then we would come up with the numbers.
Do you prepare like a 3-year capital budget? Do y'all use a capital budget format? Sam, do we? That would be a really great idea.
That is a good idea.
It's kind of a rolling constant.
I will write that down.
But the police department was not the first one to be cut. They were actually one of the last ones to be cut because they are one of the most important.
Yes.
I mean, not that the others are not important as well, but city safety is.
Well, and we wrestled with this a lot over in every budget session. The police has always been what we're working with, you know, the cars, the K-9, you know, different areas. And so it comes up anytime we work for the budget. So it's not something we went to first. I mean,
It was the last thing we went to.
he's very resilient.
Well, and I'm gonna be honest, I would have much preferred we had focused on this last year rather than some of the things we spent money on. That's the truth for me. I would have preferred that we kept our focus on some of these things like this right here than what we spent our money on.
Understand. Thank you.
Is there a place where we can get the statistics on crime in Ballinger?
Yes, there is. I'm not sure where it's at.
We report to the FBI.
Right.
So, the uniform crime database, I'm pretty sure you can Google it. I don't know if it does Ballinger specific, maybe the area, surrounding areas or whatnot, but you can look on that. But we report any and all crimes to the FBI, and they keep all this specific.
Back last year, I was talking about taxes. I always talk about taxes. Well, Judge Hilliard said, yes, but which one of the taxes do you want to cut out? What group can you do without? Can't do without the water department, certainly can't do without the fire department or the police department. Get to looking at it. We have it pretty darn good here in Ballinger. I'm so sorry that we're broke, but we've all been broke before, I imagine.
Yes.
We'll pull out of it,
We will.
but we've got to work together.
That's right.
No hostility, no trying to get rid of anybody. Work together.
Amen.
Yes, ma'am.
You ready to move on?
Go ahead.
And I still would like to recommend that we keep the K-9. Just the K-9 carrier maintenance for $4,000. Okay? If you do not want to buy a K-9, I understand. Approve me to have a K-9.
Like for the grant?
No, well,
just to approve for him to get one. Because we talked about having a donation.
Because I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of people in town that would love to donate
Right.
for us to have a K-9.
Well, we talked about putting it on the water bill. You know, if you want to donate, or if you want to come in, we'll put a can out. I mean, we can go to organizations, the Humane Society or something like
I
that.
mean, the K-9 itself will cost $9,000.
The dog.
The dog. Now, there's some other costs of getting a cage in the vehicle, whatnot, and we can look at on our new vehicle, making that the K-9. So there shouldn't be any more extra cost in that. But, you know, let me have the $4,000 so that way we can at least get a K-9 and I can do raffles, donations, however do it to get the $9,000.
Barbecue cook-off.
Barbecue cook-off, however you want to do it.
Send somebody by my house with a can. I'll throw some money in.
Yes, sir.
So,
Doesn't Williams County have a K-9
They do.
miles?
They do, and that's the issue we're having because, there's case law stating that if you're not there in a certain amount of time at a traffic stop to do a K-9 search, the K-9 search is not valid.
What is the time limit?
It's between 12 and 14 minutes. There's not an exact time, but
But it's not within the price range that Don can get it.
no, I mean, and there's a K-9 runners and there's a K-9 with the SO, which she lives in Miles. So if she's off, she has to get dressed, she has to get the dog dressed, she has to get it in the vehicle, and she has to go to where we're at. You know, same thing with Winter. Now, granted, Winters is awesome, And every time we call for a canine, they're on the spot. A lot of times he's working. So that takes away from their community to come down and help our community. And with the canine local in town, I'm gonna work with Paula and Winters, so that way our canines are on opposite shifts. So that way, you know, if they need a canine, we can go help them. And if we need a canine while our canine's off, they can come help us.
How many times have y'all used their camera?
I don't know.
How
many times did you use it this week?
This weekend? None this weekend. We were very fortunate. Winters was getting that budget on all weekend.
I mean, we can average, I'd say 10 to 15 times we use it.
No.
A month.
Can't you just get a dog from the street over here, what's the dog running around?
Even if we get a dog from the pound or whatever, we still have to pay for that dog to get trained.
Well, I mean, you're gonna get them trained anyway, but you got a dog.
Yeah.
You know?
Basically, that's the process.
Get out of here.
Hello, Mr.
Thank you, Mayor. I am for the canine, 100%. I think it would be advantage to us. Stan and another officer gave an excellent presentation about this canine at a previous council meeting, and it was very interesting. My only concern is if we have an officer and that is his canine, is this dog going to respond to other officers' commands? How is this going to go? And are we taking a chance of this officer with this canine losing him to another town for a job?
The officer that is very interested, he put that presentation on by himself. He did all the legwork with some help. He is very dedicated to it. He's willing to sign a contract to stay.
For how long?
3 years.
Minimum of 3.
Minimum of 3, I do believe.
Well, minimum of 3, minimum of 3 is
So
what we
that
brought.
way to offset the cost. So we'll keep that canine and it'll eventually pay off.
Now, Stan, how do we separate this canine from becoming a pet? And because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we can't just keep it in a normal kennel.
No.
It needs space, you know?
Well, now,
And
there's, the canine can run loose for a certain amount of time, but a lot of times if that canine's off, it's in the kennel. And that's the way it's trained. And that, I mean, it's.
if it's not on duty.
If it's not on duty.
They consider it their safe space.
Yeah.
They're trained to know what a kennel is and that that's their safe space.
And as soon as they come out of that kennel, they know it's time to work, I think. So that's how it's done.
I feel strongly about raising money to help the city and the police department for this canine. We do have a major drug problem, as all of our officers know that. Jason and I had discussed several weeks ago an option of adding 50 cents to the water bill, an option, just like we have an option of $1 towards the cemetery on our water bill. You can opt out if you don't want to, you don't have to. So, you know, that's just my input, but
What's the average lifespan on these dogs? Because of all the toxins that they take in.
It depends on the type of the breed.
Right.
I'd say 7 to 10 years.
Okay. What kind of breed you up on, I guess?
What's it called?
Those are Malinois?
Yes. They have a better lifespan than.
What's the bite insurance on that?
The dog that we're looking at does not bite.
There's not a dog on this planet.
Well, I mean.
Pretty nice range.
But he's not looking at that.
The insurance was very minimal.
Okay.
We get
Well, that's,
that.
I'm just concerned about liability, you know, most of them won't, but in Belgian Malinois are very good bite dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, very good, but they're also trained to grab and not physically bite though.
Well, these won't be.
Just know
Yeah,
that
these
the
will be drug
training,
trained.
the
They're not dog
training
trained.
is included in that to ensure the safety of everyone,
Yeah.
which is when the education part comes out. We will let the citizens know, do not come and pet the dog. There's a reason for that. You're right, every dog will bite, just like cats will scratch. However,
Yes.
However, if citizens are not aware, we will educate. We have officers that will tell them, please do not touch the dog. It is a resource, just like our weapons on our belt.
Right.
They're not there, they're not toys. So we will educate children, adults, everybody. It is not something that they need to risk their lives or our city in liability either. If citizens cannot adhere to that, we need to have that clear guidance. You know, we can't just, oh my God, it's Fido. Well, it's not a pet. So we need it for our purposes to help the community. That's all this is, it's a resource. We will do everything we can to make sure that.
I understand the resource, I was just concerned about.
No,
Right, the safety
the
of
dog
it.
we're looking into is a single purpose, which means it does drugs only.
Narcotics
It's not
only.
trained to attack or anything.
And I knew that, that's why my concern about actually biting, because a bite dog is trained to bite
That's
and
right.
not to bite. Straight drug dogs aren't trained not to bite. That was my.
Chad, you got it, right?
What is the primary designated use for the drug dog? Like what are you planning to target with the dog? Because I wasn't there for the presentation.
It's drugs.
So is it the traffic stops coming through town? Is it at houses? Is it a mix of that? I'm just trying to.
We can't use the dog on a house. We can't just go up to your house and sniff around your house, okay? Yeah, for instance, it's mainly traffic stops because it's an extension of your household. We have that right. So, you know, we can sit on a house all night long. We have somebody that pulls away, we can stop that vehicle. But if we don't have real probable cause, we can't search unless they say yes.
So let me.
So when we pull that dog out, the dog's sitting around the car, and it alerts to it, that gives us enough probable cause to search that vehicle.
Okay. And my concern, just so you know, is that I want to make sure that it's being used for things in town versus just people driving through town. Because it's great when you'll bust somebody with all the stuff that's headed to Austin, but that doesn't necessarily help us much here. And one of the things that the county commissioners were talking about in their last meeting is the skyrocketing costs of courts because of the things they're seeing with that, because they're having all these additional cases that they're having to deal with, and the court costs are going up, but we're not, you know, it's not, that wouldn't maybe directly affected us. We saved somebody in Austin, but now our taxes for county have gone up because of all these skyrocketing court costs. And I just don't want to see the same thing happening here. And that's why I was concerned, making sure that y'all are targeting in town
Okay,
versus.
so the traffic that comes through here, we cannot sit there and look and go, that car is coming here, they're going to Austin, they're going to San Antonio. Well,
I understand that.
Wait a minute, Chad.
Well,
What we can do
you're interrupting
is
me to
that
begin
when
with.
we
Okay, we're getting out of, we're
when
getting
have
off
a car,
topic, we're getting off topic.
when we
We're
get-
starting to get.
He's got the floor.
I understand, Bob. I'm
So
taking care of it.
I
Thank
just
you.
wanted to make sure that there was a way that y'all were able to use it in town. For like you were saying with the houses, people leaving houses and things like that. That was my concern, was that it was just going to be for traffic stops, you know,
No, it'll be-
on the bridge or something like that. And that's what I was trying to
Granted, we
clarify.
catch loads going back and forth.
Right.
You know, they're going to Austin, they're going to San Antonio. But what makes you think that those roads are not coming back up?
Well, and I'm not saying that, I'm just saying that it's a big problem at county. They brought it up in their last budget meeting about the court costs based on things like
Yeah.
that. So,
I mean,
that is my
when
concern.
meth comes up in Mexico, they go to Dallas, Fort Worth, and they come back here. So,
Fentonyl's coming from China.
What is
yeah.
this? 3 hours total.
Okay. There's two more people over here, gonna let them ask their questions, and then we're gonna finish up on the dog and the canine. If y'all have any more questions, you're more than welcome to catch any of the officers that already know about that, please, and visit with them. Is that okay?
Sam, can I say one thing? Mr. Chester, one of the things I agreed with him on, he said Coleman had a drug dog. They had to abandon that, give it up, because it's cost them $30,000
Chad's
a
two
year.
drug dogs. Yeah.
Stevie, with all respect,
I'm not gonna get involved in this discussion.
we had a drug dog here one time, once again, it turned into a family pet.
We're
Put marijuana under the fender wheel of the fire truck, you couldn't find. And it's just, I just got a bad taste in my mouth for that. And hopefully it wouldn't turn into that, but it has before.
Okay, well,
Hold on.
Thank you, Sam.
Yes, sir. Yes,
My
sir.
only question is there quote unquote life insurance that you can get on a dog in case it's killed 3 months after we get it in a traffic stop?
The vendor that we're going through has a guaranteed 2-year health on the dog,
For anything?
for anything.
Even if they were to,
If they're sick or something.
They said 2 years for anything, so I haven't
whether
read
it's shot
contract or nothing.
or.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be my worry, that we pay $9,000.
And the canine really falls as another police officer.
Yes.
So, more
Yeah, that's how we had
likely,
it.
10 mil insurance will help
An
cover
officer.
the cost of the illness or whatever.
Tommy, what did it cost to fit that vehicle to have that dog?
$5,000.
$5,000.
Yeah. See if,
That's it, if I get one of my current vehicles in outfit.
Right. Was there one more person back there?
So my question is, so if you do, let's say, a traffic stop and somebody's gonna carry marijuana from Colorado to Austin or Austin, Tennessee, doesn't matter which, and y'all sees that the drug, sees the vehicle, does Ballinger have the ability now to take that vehicle, sell it to auction and get money revenue off of that? So would that not also be a way for, not to say revenue producing, but it would be a way to help offset the cost of the dog over so many years?
No,
Yes.
they passed a law last year that forbid that. The Supreme Court ruled on it last year. You can't seize like that anymore.
What are we gonna do?
Well, there's certain areas on how to seize,
Right.
but I'm not gonna get into that. But yes, there, any money, vehicles, stuff like that, to a point, we still can seize.
But then the other part is that we're talking about rising costs. I mean, Rolls County has $8 million in surplus, but then again, the rising cost of court. I mean, should the criminals not be paying for that? So not Ballinger or Rolls County shouldn't have to offset with our tax money to make our taxes go up. Let the criminals pay for it.
I didn't pay there in general.
Not all of them.
I would say you need to talk to Reynolds County, because they're raising your taxes as well, even though they have that $8 million single thing.
Okay. All right, let's settle down. We're gonna move forward now, please.
All right, for that,
Yes, ma'am.
are we, if we go with this, are we budgeted for the overtime that's gonna be?
It's already budgeted.
It already is, okay.
Yes, it's already budgeted along with the training. It's already budgeted. So,
we got more to talk about that until Friday.
yes.
Yes, and we have more to talk about.
You know you love it. Well, I mean,
What else does Stan have?
I was gonna go over the patrol salary, but just give us a little bit of wiggle room, because the 179,546 is budgeted for what officers are at now. And like I have 2 probationary officers right now, I won't be able to give them a merit raise once they're off probation and up to where they need to be. So that's why I asked for $200,000, so that way I could do that. And we can run the numbers again if you want. We can see where our bottom number can be.
Okay.
But so that's all I have. Besides, I mean, if you want to go over the year-end salary adjustments to keep our certificate pay, to add the certificate pay in there.
Where was that? What line item was that added?
That was 5316. I don't know. what it was.
176.
Okay, I have it at $2,176. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if that includes the certificate pay or not, I can't remember.
You don't know what, if that covers it?
Yeah. Now we can look at it and see.
Okay.
I don't know what the year-end salary adjustment was to begin with. So I can get more on that.
And what is the 5,000 capital expenditures again?
That was for if there's anything that would, yeah.
Extra.
Yeah, if we have to repair a vehicle, we can't. We don't have the budget for it in the other lines.
And it goes in there.
Yes. Or if we have a taser go down or anything like that, we can
So we went way over this year, was it because
It's not over.
the 13?
It's not over?
No, it's not over. That
Well, that
is,
number here is wrong.
yes.
Says year to date, almost 3 times.
Sorry, which item are y'all talking about?
This is part of that conversion when we.
Right.
We had some,
Right, there were a few little
Bad
glitches.
number.
There's at least 10,000 that doesn't belong there.
okay.
Which item are y'all discussing?
Capital expenditures on the police department.
Thank you.
So what should we say?
5,000. I tried to bump it up to 9 for the K9. That's where I was gonna use the K9, to purchase the K9, but we can leave it at
But
5,000,
the current year to date is what?
like 3,000 something.
Okay, okay, so that's what I was trying to figure out which number was wrong.
Yes, no, it's at least 10,000 off.
Okay.
I don't know if we got that fixed yet or not, but
Well, there's a, so here you have a minus 8,000. Right. Okay, and that's probably not correct. So in here you got 3,000. So you get an extra 10,000 here that needs to be fixed. So that's on right. You got some.
you wanna go over the animal control now?
What we did on
13.
Do we still have in here the maintenance on the building over there, or is that in a different section?
It'll
It's a different
be a
section.
different section. Are you talking about the animal control building?
Well, animal control, I know that animal control is a different section, but the police department,
No, it wouldn't in either one of those.
where is it at?
It'll be under, I'll have to look.
Okay, we're gonna get to it.
It's $3,000 in there.
We do have a maintenance budget line, but there's a lot of maintenance, there's
Right.
another line for that somewhere.
Okay,
Yeah,
That's all, I remember seeing it.
okay.
So it goes with the fire department, or the police department, fire department, and then control. Okay, and for the shelter help, what, you said you dropped the shelter help down?
yes. We tentatively talked about 20,000, then, and that's 2 part-time employees. And then we bumped it down to 16,000 in our last budget meeting for 2 part-time employees. And then I brought it down to 8,000 for this budget here. Now.
So, now, I don't have my phone on me, so 20 hours a week, how much does that come out to? Because that's what, I have one shelter help now, and that's what she's rolling at, 20 hours a week. Minimum wage.
2.25.
I think I did 8.
8,
It just gives you an average,
8,300.
8,300. So I would recommend at least 84, 8,500, so that way you don't go over budget for anything. If you're just gonna do one shelter help.
I can do that.
And, you know, like you talked about the box, getting donations or whatever for that. If you want to try that, we can.
Okay.
Problem is, we hardly get help as it is for the shelter anyways.
Right. Right.
But I think that was it. Yeah, I mean, I know I asked for 15,000 for a box. I don't expect to pay that much for it.
Right.
So, if you want to kind of do a half and half type deal, that'll help out a lot. Put in 7,000 and I'll raise 7,000, however you want to do it. I don't see us getting donations for $15,000.
I'm sorry, could you clarify the item you're speaking about again?
The animal control truck box.
Thank you.
And so, I mean, it's older than Ball right now. Ball bought it.
Did you hear that, Bob?
What Stan says means a little to me.
So, it is that old, is it not functional?
It's, the doors don't stay shut. I know we've replaced a lot of rivets that have been vibrated out with bolts. That truck bed has been replaced, or been on 3 different vehicles right now. And so it's just taking its course. So, I mean, right now we got the doors flying open, you know, she may have a handle in there and the door fly open, the dog may fall out. That's where it's at now.
And where is the animal shelter?
Animal shelter is on South 7th heading towards
Paintball.
Paintball. There's a sign on the fence for an animal shelter. It's gonna, if you're going to Paintball, it's gonna be on the right across the street from the city shop.
Before we try to get donations for the dog, and we're also gonna try to get donations for the box, that's a lot of donations.
That is a lot of donations.
It's a giving community, they've done it before. It's a giving community, they've done it before.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, the Imagination Station, I don't know what they,
And we have animal.
Start some fundraisers and try to help out.
And I just want to reiterate the disrepair that the animal shelter is in.
Bad.
Yes. And we're
And the
gonna,
police station.
look at, I know we have budgeted $3,000, but you're gonna look at a good $10,000 just to repair what we need right now. So with the kennels and the, everything else, roof. So. All right, any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Here you go. And up here. All right, was everyone's questions answered as far as the budget? We basically went through everything item by item as Tommy has presented. Yes, sir, Mr.
I have a question. I know Bob pointed out that Tommy's not getting raised, but what about, I know we're talking about before, even when we were doing a tax rate increase, that there might have to be employees with the city laid off in order to meet budget. Now we're talking about reducing our available income by $200,000 without the tax rate increase. So it seems like that's even more of a possibility that we're gonna be laying people off. So I would ask that we would do a freeze on any type of pay increases before we start, removing people, or we look at, hour reductions or something like that versus, giving people pay increases, but at the same time, we're, having to get rid of somebody.
right. But actually, I know there was a lot of talk of it earlier. We've had a lot of attrition recently, and we're moving people out of some of the departments that we were heading in, trying to incorporate them elsewhere. So, I mean, our number by the week keeps going down on the amount of people we might have to lay off. So, I mean, hopefully in a couple more weeks it'll all get worked out. We don't even have to do that. So, but your pay increase is no.
Yeah, just don't, I don't see, giving somebody a big raise and then at the same time letting somebody else go.
No, we weren't talking about pay increases. He just wanted to.
I just want to make sure that that's not in the budget somewhere, anywhere for anybody as an option when we're at the point that it's critical enough that we're talking about layoffs.
The only people that would be probably up for something like that is the
probationary officer.
Yeah, the probationary.
Right, and I understand that because it's a change in status.
Right.
Right.
I do have a question, because seeing the paperwork that Justin brought forward on the city's page, it shows that we were over budget, $75,000 on payroll. This is what I saw. And I could be wrong, Justin, you may have to clarify that, correct me if I'm wrong. But that's what I saw, was $75,000 over budget. I would like to know how we got $75,000 over budget on payroll. Did we hire another 15 people, or what exactly happened?
Well, what happened on payroll? when we had to rebuild the water department, and because Carlos passed away, and a couple of people, they left after that because they were affected. And so we were rebuilding the water department. And so we would hire people to work in the water department. Some of them, the water department was very unique. Some of them worked out, some of them didn't. And then we, instead of just letting those people go, we shifted them to other departments. We do have an attrition rate. You know, people leave because they have other jobs, other opportunities in the oil field, you know, things like that. And, but in trying to rebuild the water department, we did get bulked up a little bit, more than we needed to be. And we've been trying to...
So has it leveled out now, or are we still?
It's leveling out. I'm still maybe a little heavy, but not by much.
Like, give me a number. How
4
many,
people.
how many employees? 4 people?
Probably summer swimming pool.
Yeah, the swimming pool, I mean, your seasonal, okay, we had a lot of rain, you know. Right. So we, you know, our street department did increase drastically. Okay, so, again, the attrition, that has kind of dropped off. The seasonal help that we had at the swimming pool, it's already gone. So, I mean, we did spike over the summer, but it's leveling out as we go.
Didn't you also have 2 managers at the pool where there's normally only 1? Was that an added cost?
Well, not really. I mean, in the scheme of things, it wasn't, it didn't add to the cost. It was part of the work.
Yes. How much is this going to decrease our deficit with this budget?
Well, if we get this budget passed, we're trying to, we won't capture all of it this year, maybe about 120,000 of the deficit that we're working with right now, just with this budget change. But we'll capture it little by little.
And that depends greatly on water revenue also. That can vary.
You're correct.
So my dumb brain, I'm sitting there thinking, if we're in such a deficit, why have the swimming pool open? That's $100,000 you can kick off your line item. You don't necessarily have to unless you're bringing in over $100,000 from the.
Yeah, Donnie, but I'm not gonna be the one to tell them to close the swimming pool for the summer. I'm not gonna be here when you do it.
So, and the second part of that is if Ballinger has, how much property does Ballinger physically own?
We got quite a bit. I mean, we own a lot of acreage down there, past Hutchings.
Is there any acreage that Ballinger owns that is in shape enough to sell and make revenue for the city of Ballinger?
We could sell the airport. There's property at the airport, but I'm not sure that we're at a point where we need to do that right now.
But and I was just there thinking, if it's not necessary, why the swimming pool could be sold to a private individual and they could buy it from Ballinger and then privately own it, kind of like the one in Bass.
You are correct, but that is way above my pay grade. That is not something I'm going to, I mean, you could sell the pool and let a contractor, or you could even lease it out. I mean, that is an option, but.
If you want negative feedback.
Yeah.
On the miniature golf course, you're gonna get it on the swimming pool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not talking about getting rid of it. I'm talking about if a private individual said, hey, City of Ballinger, I would like to give you so much money for the swimming pool, and you don't have an exchange.
They have to charge too much for whatever you.
Buy it because it's not a moneymaker.
That's because if it's not making the city money, nobody else wants it either.
There again, if it's not a moneymaker.
Donnie, it's an option. It is an option we can look at.
It's a suggestion. We're getting off key here. Yes, ma'am.
I'm a member of the park board, and I understand that there's a swimming pool. I see where you're coming from, but also if we sell it or lease it to somebody else, we, the park board, uses it like for our fundraisers for that, would somebody else be willing to let us use that? Like the city has at no cost to us, because they were trying to make, even having one.
I understand.
So, but I think that's
In one acre, $100,000 for a swimming pool budget, I mean, do we need to increase the cost of some of those swimmers 50 cents? Or the cost of a snow cone by 25 cents? I mean, I haven't been there since I was in high school, so I don't know.
but it is everything that the kids can do.
And I completely agree with it. It needs something fun and safe to do.
On that note, I will share something that Mr. J.B. Teeter sat right there and said to this council years ago in his last service, is if you take the pool away and you increase the price, that might be good on that line item. But that line item right there in the police department is going to increase and shoot through the roof.
Right.
And he's sat on this council for a long time.
Yes, sir.
And he's a bright man.
That's true.
So I was only share that with what JB said. Anyone else?
Excuse me.
Yes,
It
sir.
won't take long, I promise. 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
That's long.
Huh?
That's long.
It'd be less than the police discussion.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. I'm giving. Listen, I love the police, please don't. Please don't.
Come on, you're already calling me out.
Listen, I've listened to a lot of rumor and innuendo. I've had a lot of things said about history. I want y'all to know up front, I'm not on anybody's side. I'm on Ballinger's side. I sat on this council from 2005 to 2017. Benita got sick of looking at me. Worked with Tommy New, Joe Selby, worked with Sam, worked with Brian. This presentation today, I'm going to give you all some information. This is historical information. It is the audited financials from 2012 through 2018. A few things I want to dispel or get out in the open is the nature of, and this might be good for others if you're a geek like me. Fund balances, how fund balances work in the city. This will be real quick, I promise. And then how can you have a negative general fund and an overall positive city funds? And then get into exactly how we are, where we are through 2018. So to begin with, I'll just kind of explain. There's two types of government funds, city funds. There's governmental funds and there's business funds. Under governmental funds, you collect your sales tax, your property tax, your court fines, your hotel motel taxes, sewer, or not sewer, but sanitary services, garbage, swimming pool and park, things of that nature. That's the revenue you take in under governmental funds, under the general fund. Under expenses, you have almost everything. You have police, municipal court, city hall, non-departmental administrative, which is here, street department, park department, swimming pool, fire department, animal control, all those expenses, that's your general fund. So when your general fund goes negative, that means that all those departments together, you're spending more money than you're making off sales tax and property tax, basically. And then you're going to fund that from your water department. Does that make sense? Not unusual. Coleman sells electricity. Not unusual. I mean, this is the way people make money, right? And so your general fund goes negative and you fund your general fund. So when everybody's talking about minus $400,000 from the general fund, you got to take that in the context of the overall total funds. It means nothing by itself. Does that make sense? So the next page is fund balances. As you can see, and I'd be more than willing to send this to anybody. I'm not hiding this from anybody. If you get with me later, I'll definitely send it over to you. I've got some extra copies tonight. You can look at your fund balances over the years, and you can see, starting in 2017 and 2018, that in fact, your general fund does go negative to the tune of $490,000 negative in 2017 and reduced down to $432,000 negative in 2018. Your water and sewer went from $7.4 million to about 7.5 million, 2017, 2018. And then your airport kind of hangs around there in the low 322,000, 340,000. Overall, those are your fund balances. The way to think about that, if you're a for-profit company, that's your equity. That's your equity accounts. So if you're looking at that. When you look at the next one, don't mind my little manual correction on 2012, but I did correct it before everybody got it. At least the number wasn't wrong, it was just a year. This is the change in net assets by fund class. This is basically your profitability, if you want to look at it that way. This is revenues versus expenditures. And you can see on governmental funds, you're kind of all over the place. You go up, you go down, it depends on the year, depends on sales tax, and depends on property tax. Property tax is pretty consistent. Sales tax can be kind of weird. It's up sometimes, down sometimes. In one of these years, I know Mueller fought Austin. We got a significant tax. I was so excited because we got a lot of tax back from Austin. And I was like, yeah, I stuck it to Austin. And then I went to city council and I thought, oh no, I stuck it to Austin and Ballinger's going to get, Ballinger's going to pay for some of that. So that's what happened. But under business, which is basically your water and sewer, we ran for years at a loss in water and sewer. We were not making money in the water and sewer. And we only started making money right about 2016. We started making money in water and sewer. And that started actually adding to where now it is one of the biggest money makers. So we depend a lot on water and sewer. So it's a significant part of it. Next slide is balance sheet highlights. Cash fluctuates depending on the time of year. In 2017, you had $362,000 in cash, according to the financial statements, the audited financial statements. In 2018, you had $150,000 in cash. The change there, just being a bean counter, looking at it, your receivables went up, so you weren't collecting receivables there by over $100,000. Something happened there, whatever happened. That's not a judgmental thing to say. And then payables, your payables went down, so you paid more of your outstanding bills. So that's going to affect your cash balance. It's going to hover around that $200,000 to $300,000 range in general. That's where it is, with the exception of 2016, which was $1.1 million, which was related to grant funds and a lot of other things that came in that year for projects that we were doing. Next page is revenues, total revenues and total expenditures. The thing I want you to take away from here, the key point is revenues have increased 3.5% annually. That's your APR from 2012 to 2018. Your expenses have increased 3.1%. So your revenues are growing faster than your expenditures. Just to keep that in mind.
So there's hope.
There is hope. I mean, honestly, revenues have never been higher than they've been this last few years, and they continue to be higher. We made a conscious decision to do that years ago. We raised water rates. Everybody remembers that. Haven't done it since. Not to that extent. We raised a property tax, and then sales tax, fortunately, has increased over that time. Your next is Ballinger revenue sources. Your most significant revenue source, hands down, is water and sewer. In 2018, that was $2.2 million that you took in. Over from 2012 to 2018, that's 3.7% increase in a year. That's pretty healthy. That's pretty good. Your next biggest source of income is sales tax. In 2018, that was $1.1 million. That's only increased 0.3%. I'm going to digress a little bit. This was because right here in about 2014 or 2015, the state of Texas changed the way they collect and sales tax. So they came out and said, no longer if you manufacture it, do you collect tax in the place where it's manufactured. You got to collect it where the order is placed. And so that really impacts Mueller and all the buildings we're shipping out of here all the time. And so what we did was had IT scramble and put together a program that if somebody walks into the branch, our branch is network 30, in Texas, 29 of them or something. If they walk into the branch, we have to collect sales tax at that point. If they call that order in, then we still collect sales tax where we ship the product from. So we tried to limit that exposure, because again, that was, I was on the fence for that one, but we can't afford to have that dip there. But sales tax hadn't increased as fast because of that. Property tax it was $1.1 million in 2018, and it is the third highest. It is also the fastest growing line item on there. And then trash, that'll fool you. It looks like you made $545,000, but the vast majority of that goes back to Republic. And so that's just the way that works. So in your general fund, from 2012 to 2018, you've had 3.4% increase in your general fund. You've had a 3.5% increase in your water funds, in your water revenue. Here's where we're going to start getting into what the issue is, or what the issues have been, and what they'll continue to be probably moving forward. Total expenses by department. Your most expensive departments by a really good stretch are street departments, of course, the police department, and then City Hall, which when I say City Hall, I mean City Hall, admin, non-departmental, that whole big bunch. There's 3 departments. It's split in some other areas. But those are your biggest hitters. The police department, yes, does look high, but what I would submit to you, the growth rate looks high over that period of time, but what I'd submit to you is in early 13 or 14,
When Grimes came on.
we took a look at it and we could not hire officers. We could not get anybody to stay here. We couldn't get any, we had older equipment, and we did a market study, and we were paying less than Winters, paying less than Coleman, paying less than Eden, paying less than everybody around us. So we had to make a market adjustment to our police force to be competitive, to get good personnel here. We made that decision, and we did it.
And now we're back to where we are. We're actually on the bottom of the barrel right now as far as pay.
And it's going to continue to go, right? I mean, you got to continue those market studies and try to figure out. Of course, that's across all your departments. If you want good people, you got to figure out how to do more with less, or how to do more with more. But those are your big hitter, your big hit items. And as you can see, foots to the top, fortunately, your total expenditures only increasing 3.1% in total across all that area. However, on your general fund expenditures, that increases 3.7% a year, and your business funds are increasing only 2.4% a year. So your water and sewer is not rising as fast as your general fund areas are. So the water and sewer is doing a really good job. And then total compensation by department. This is something that can sneak up on you and get you. But total compensation has only increased 3% from 2012 to 2018. You haven't had a significant increase. It's been below the revenue increase. The additional funds that were spent on projects. And the good thing about that is when you have projects and then you have a difficult or tight time, then you turn the spending off. You just stop doing the projects. And so then you have the cash. If you have it in people, it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder to press on the brakes. So your general fund compensation has been increasing 4.1% a year from 2012 to 2018. And your water and sewer fund has actually decreased 0.1% over that time period. So basically, what that is saying is that all your spending increases are in your general fund. It's going to be your street departments. It's going to be your police. It's going to be those expenses. And the water fund is going to have to pay for the general fund. That's just the way it is. I know you hit some headwinds this year in water sales, I haven't looked at any details for 2019. I've seen numbers like everybody else has seen numbers. I'm a bean counter by nature. I'm going to wait for the September actual to come out, and then I'll take a look at not that my vote is that important, but I'll take a look after September's done, because 1 month can make a difference. But what I'd encourage everybody is, we have to stop, making the real highlights on our YouTube hits here in these meetings. I mean, we have to start treating each other with respect. We can disagree. Heck, we can even not like each other, and we can get along. We don't need to make accusations, especially accusations without all the facts, because I know for a fact that I don't have all the facts. I haven't been on council in a couple of years, but we're making these decisions without all the information. And the only team that exists is Ballinger, in my mind. I've been here 20 years. That still doesn't make me local. I think I have to be here 35 to be local. But I've been here 20, and really I did grow up in Sterling City, San Angelo, so I wasn't that far away. But I love this town. I love these people, and I appreciate y'all and the job you do. And I hope that we can pull through this thing and start working, because it's a tough time, right? It's a tough time, but it's not. But we're going to have to work through it. I say we, y'all being the collective we. But I appreciate y'all. And have a
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Very much.
I'll back.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
All right, motion to close the public hearing on the proposed 2019-2020 budget.
I make that motion.
Second? All in favor, say aye.
Hold for a second.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out.
Motion to adjourn?
Make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank y'all very, very, very much. And just so y'all know, y'all got to be part of history today. Bonita's been here 45 years, and this is the largest amount of people that's ever come to one of these meetings. And last Thursday night was a record, because that was the most people that ever showed up to the tax rate. So keep it up, Ballinger. Let's keep going forward. All right, see ya.